Right, listen up, Rangers fans, never a penalty yesterday. FIFA's had their say, and the VAR dramas got everyone losing the plot. From that madness at Easter Road to Philippe Clement'S fiery meltdown, there's plenty to unpack. But wait, it gets juicier. Patrick Stewart's transfer plans could shake things up. Cyril Desires might be off to France, and a Marseille defender's name is in the mix for a January move. Stick around, because this one's got controversy, big decisions, and questions that'll have you shouting at your screen by the end. Another day, another VAR drama, eh? Rangers and Hibs put on an absolute cracker of a match at Easter Road, but trust VAR to stick its oar in and leave folk arguing more about the referee than the football. Yanis Hadji, bless him, found himself in the middle of it all when he gave away that penalty after tangling with Josh Campbell. VAR decided it was all above board, and Martin Boyle made no mistake from the spot to bring Hibs back into it. Fair play to him, but you'd be forgiven for feeling like Rangers were mugged off. Now, ex-FIFA ref Keith Hackett waded into the debate, slapping down claims by Ewan Booth Robertson, who reckoned VAR got it wrong. Hackett's take? It wasn't the leg contact that earned the penalty, but a barge from Hadji up top. Clear as day, he says. Well, clear to some. Not exactly what you want to hear when you've just watched your team surrender a lead twice. To be fair, it wasn't just about the penalty, was it? Hamza Igamane was unplayable, bagging a hat-trick that would have had you down the pub singing his name. But poor game management from the boys in blue handed David Gray's Hibs the lifeline they needed. Philippe Clement must have been tearing his hair out on that touchline. So here's the big question for you. Should we be focusing on VAR's decisions, or is the real issue that Rangers can't see out games when it matters? So the Rangers faithful are left on the edge of their seats waiting for word from Patrick Stewart? No, not that Patrick Stewart, although maybe a bit of Star Trek magic wouldn't go amiss with the state of things at Rangers just now. Philippe Clement'S hinted that the new CEO will have the final say on transfer plans, leaving us all in the dark for now. Not exactly reassuring when the team's chucking away leads and sitting a whopping 10 points behind you-know-who. The draw at Easter Road was a cracking game for the neutrals, but for Rangers supporters, it was another reminder that the squad just isn't up to scratch. Clement can't work miracles with what he's got, and after such a shambolic display of game management, reinforcements aren't just a nice-to-have, they're absolutely critical. Yet here we are, crossing our fingers for signings, while rumors of financial struggles swirl like a gale down Paisley Road West. And as for that talk about damage limitation, what a grim thing to hear. After that glorious result over Celtic on Z in January, you'd think we'd be gearing up for a proper title fight. Instead, it's starting to feel like a scrap, just to keep things respectable. You'd have to feel for Clement if the board doesn't back him, but sympathy won't count for much if results don't improve. Here's a thought for you. If the club can't afford to bring in the players we need, is it time for a serious rethink about how Rangers are being run from the top down? Philippe Clement'S frustration was written all over his face, wasn't it? And to be fair, you can hardly blame him. Rangers dropping points in yet another drama-filled game, this time a 6-goal thriller at Easter Road, has only piled more pressure on a team that's already lagging well behind. Yanis Hadji, to his credit, did well to track back, but that penalty call against him had Clement fuming. Marvin Bartley reckons it's one of those where, if it were the other way round, we'd be shouting for a penalty ourselves. Maybe, but it still doesn't make it any easier to swallow. It's not like this is the first time Rangers have found themselves on the wrong end of a controversial decision. Remember that Premier Sports Cup final? Václav Černý was taken down by Liam Scales and VAR couldn't be bothered to intervene. You'd think they'd have ironed out these VAR issues by now, but no. Week after week, it feels like we're dealing with this nonsense. And poor Hamza Igamane, the lad was absolutely sensational. His perfect hat-trick should have been the story of the game, but instead it's overshadowed by yet another VAR talking point and a Rangers side that can't seem to hold a lead. It's inconsistency at its worst. Clement'S got a win against Celtic under his belt, but how much longer will that buy him if the team keeps dropping points like this? Here's one for you. Are these dodgy decisions really costing Rangers, or is the bigger issue that we're not good enough to take the officials out of the equation? Well, here we go. Cyril Désert might be packing his bags if Saint-Etienne can scrape together the cash to bring him to France. The Nigerian striker came to Rangers with a fair bit of fanfare, and while he's had the odd big moment, let's be honest, he's not exactly set the heather alight, has he? With Hamza Igamane stealing the show lately and Danilo back fit, Dezers is looking more like an expensive bench warmer than a first-choice forward. Saint-Etienne, currently fighting to stay in League One, are eyeing up 6 potential signings as part of their winter rescue mission. Dezers is one of them, but it seems they need to clear out some deadwood of their own before they can afford his wages. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? They've got their priorities elsewhere for now, like trying to bring in midfield reinforcements and a defender. But if they free up the funds, Dezers might be off. Back at Rangers, it's no secret that fans are losing patience with the big man. For a lad who cost £4.5 million, we've not seen nearly enough consistency. A few decent finishes here and there don't make up for the glaring misses or his knack for disappearing in the games where we need him most. With options up front looking a bit healthier now thanks to Igamane and Danilo, you can't blame supporters for glancing at the exit door. And the whispers about a South African striker, Ikram, as a possible replacement, that's got a whiff of forward planning about it, doesn't it? Maybe Dezers needs a fresh start somewhere else, and maybe we need someone who can actually bang in goals when it matters. Here's one to stir the pot. Should Rangers cut their losses with Dezers, or would selling him now prove we've given up on developing him into the player we thought we were signing? Rangers sniffing around Marseille's Bamo Mayata, eh? On paper, the lad ticks a few boxes, versatile enough to play centre-back and right-back, and young enough to still develop under the right guidance. But here's the rub. He's barely had a sniff of first-team football this season. Roberto De Zerbi's handed him a grand total of checks notes. 24 minutes in League One, not exactly filling you with confidence, is it? Philippe Clement'S clearly scrambling for defensive cover after Sutar's injury and Casanwirjo's season-ending surgery. Poor lad didn't even get to unpack properly before heading back to Feyenoord. In their absence, Clement'S been forced to piece together a makeshift backline, Yilmaz on the wrong side, Sterling filling gaps, and Proper looking anything but proper. That patched-up defense got away with it against Celtic in the 3-0 thumping, but against Hibs, it was a defensive comedy of errors. The idea of bringing mate in on a dry loan is tempting, no long-term commitment if he flops, but Marseille wants some cash guaranteed in the deal. Can you blame them? They've got their own defensive holes to plug and aren't in the business of charity, yet for Rangers, it's a gamble. The boy hasn't had much game time, so expecting him to slot straight into the chaos of the Scottish Premiership might be asking a bit much. And that's where the question comes in. Are Rangers right to gamble on potential, or should they be aiming higher for a proven defender to stabilize the backline? If you haven't seen yesterday's video yet, you're missing out. Explosive news about Rangers that'll leave every fan stunned. Go check it out now. Go.